Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch another lovely morning in the Ozarks. Temperature, sky, everything is just right on the mark, right where it should be. If it stayed like this all year long, man, it would be really difficult to complain about things, I don't know. But I crazy enough as it sounds, I actually like the cold weather, so can't complain too much about that either. We are just a little less than 5 months away from the big day that we choose the next ruler or continue with the same one that we have. It's ironic, though, that also the Serbian president yesterday said that he believes that World War III will go full hot, like full on World War III, within 3 to 4 months, maybe less. That'd be perfect timeline for the sitting president that is weak in the polls and doesn't look very capable. If we go into a full World War III, we got to rally the troops and because, historically speaking, statistically speaking, a sitting president almost always gets reelected if there's a war going on. So that was interesting, but it also fits really well with what myself and many others have been saying, is that this thing's probably going to go hot soon. Also yesterday, Russia said that any of those F-16s, the ones that originated in the United States, Western warplanes, the F-16s, said that if any of those are used to attack Russian assets, that wherever they originated from, they took off from, whatever airstrip that they came from is fair game, even if that airstrip is in NATO territory, which is what a lot of these are coming from. They're coming out of NATO countries, they're flying over and making attack runs and then coming back. And he said, we don't care where they're based. Wherever they're based at, that's where we'll strike. Also, NATO has said that they have 300,000 troops. They're ready to go. It's on the border. They have supply chain routes and everything worked out. That they're ready to go in a war against Russia. So I'd say it's getting pretty close. And that, the 3 to 4 month timeline that Serbian president said, I'd say that's probably fairly accurate, at least in my opinion right now. I could be wrong. I've known to be wrong once or twice in my life. But yeah, I think it's something that we need to get ready for, and that's going to change a lot of things. And it could definitely have great effect on the upcoming election. Because, as we all know, we can't allow things to change. It's on par right now. It's going really good for the globalists. They're getting their agenda working. Their new world order, that, as many of you saw yesterday, YouTube let you know that it's a conspiracy. The new world order is a conspiracy, even though nearly every major world leader in the last 3 or 4 decades has referenced indirectly or directly to the New World Order. In fact, just recently in times, they've talked about it. But yet, it's a conspiracy. The conspiracy really is that, unfortunately, there's too many people that, at least the false conspiracy, is that too many people just are asleep at the wheel. And you need to not be one of them. We have to take this kind of serious. I think we are getting down to a certain point. We've kind of, 4 years ago, things seemed like the world was ending. A lot of people thought that, and then it's kind of sort of slowed down. Not really. It's been progressive movement, but not as rapid as a lot of people expected. But really, over the last few months, things have picked up a lot. And between the war and the economy and a pandemic and the border, it's all starting to really come together. and we need to get ready for it. Yesterday, I made a video over on Locals, giving some first aid medical tips. I've been doing that, since I am a first responder, and I handle a lot of medical calls between myself and just others around me. We've picked up a few tips here and there, little things that work well that you may not get in just your standard first aid, CPR, or even first responder type of training. And so occasionally I make a video over there talking about that. And the point to me saying this is that that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. We need to move beyond the beginnings of preparedness. Yes, those basics are critically important, and that's why ever so often I'll make a video going back to those basics. Going over the food, going over the water supply, the water purification, the basic medical supplies. Those things are critical. You absolutely need your basics, but we need to be pushing forward with the little bit of time that we have left of kind of advancing ourselves in our self-sufficiency. Again, 3 to 4 months is what this Serbian president is saying before World War III breaks out. 5 months before the election. 6.5 months or so before the January inauguration. So, we're talking fairly short timelines before we know things are definitely going to worsen. It doesn't mean it's the end of the world. It doesn't mean that, all hope and everything will be lost at that point. It just means that there are certain things coming up that we know are significant. And so we have to be pushing forward with preparing ourselves. And if learning and advancing more skills, that's always should be a priority. Developing relationships, that's something that we are doing here locally pretty much on a daily basis. We're out trying to build that community. Part of the stuff that we do volunteer-wise here locally, several of us volunteer in the fire department. Several of us are part of an emergency response team. We're working with local civic groups. We're volunteering at the school. We're doing things like that to get our faces out there in this small rural community. And that's the kind of stuff all of you can be doing, especially if you live in the small rural communities. Reaching out to your neighbors, building relationships with local mom and pop businesses around you, so that when things fall apart, even if you don't have that super tight, communal type community, at least you've built relationships with the people around you. And when things start falling apart, you're not a stranger to them. They're not a stranger to you. And so it's very easy to start advancing that relationship and working on how you're going to ride out the storm. So it's not just about putting back beans and rice and ammo. I mean, certainly that stuff's important, but it's about developing yourself and your area into a place that it can survive great calamity, collapse, chaos. That's the kind of stuff that we have to be doing, because we can't just fortify ourselves in our home and say that's going to be good enough. That's not good enough. So we've got to be working outward, developing the medical training, because that's going to be critical. Emergency medical, taking care of your health, taking care of illnesses. When things start falling apart, that's going to be one of the first things that hurt. If you look historically at nations that start collapsing when they go through hyperinflation, or the economy collapses, or whatever it is, or there's a civil war, the medical side of things is the first thing to hurt, because you've got more poor hygiene, poor sanitation, more risk of illnesses, higher propensity to be injured. All of these things happen, and then we go from being a first world country to a third world country very quickly. And so you need to be working on the medical, the emergency medical, how to treat illnesses, as well as the defense, as well as the food production. I was speaking to a close friend yesterday, and I said that I think as a community we need to be working really, putting a lot of focus right now on meat. I said because while growing vegetables and stuff is certainly important, and I don't want to take away from that, you know, I can store 50 to 100 pounds or even more seeds. In fact, if I took a couple of $100 right now and put it towards good quality seeds, I could accumulate a lot of seeds for $200 or $300. And if things fell apart tomorrow, I would already have those seeds and I have the soil to put them in, and I could just start pushing out more and more food. Whereas with meat, if I don't have any meat source, if I'm not raising chickens or sheep or goats or beef or anything like that, and everything falls apart, I can't just immediately, for the most part, go out and get that stuff. You know, we don't know how available it might be. You have to have infrastructure. So I said, I think as a community, our biggest focus on food production should be meat, because that's something that takes a lot longer to do. It's a bigger upfront cost and work, and so we need to be doing that now, because, you know, we all have garden spaces, and it's not that difficult to expand. So for you, that should be something I think a lot of you should be looking towards, is what are you doing when it comes to the meat side of your food, because they're coming after it pretty hard right now with all the chickens they're killing, with the beef and the dairy that they're trying to get rid of. So you should be doing that. Obviously defense, obviously medical, obviously food production, and then just building the physical, psychological, spiritual aspect of the community. In other words, building strong relationships. It doesn't mean that you're going to be bosom friends with everyone, but you should have a circle of people that you can know and trust, and that they trust and know you, and really develop that relationship. Because as things fall apart, and at this point it's just almost an absolute certainty, it's going to be very, very important to have those people around us, people that think like us, people that believe like us. Yes, there's your outer circles as you go out, and you may not be as perfectly aligned with those people, but you can certainly work together with them. But it's going to be very critical to have that inner circle and keep that inner circle tight, because things are getting bad, and I think it's going to get worse before it gets worse. So this isn't a time to kind of roll our eyes and say, oh, it's going to be all right. Things are advancing pretty rapidly at this point. And I'm sure there's going to be several things happen that distract us from that pull our attention away, that cause us to forget how bad things are getting. But we need to stay focused and not panic, not live in fear. This is all, look at it this way, for those of us that are believers, this is just putting us closer and closer to that final day that we can reach our true home. And so it shouldn't be something that saddens us. It should be something that we rejoice in, knowing that we are privileged and honored to live in the time, very possibly, to see our Messiah return. So it's not something to be terrified of. It's just something to be focused on and work towards, and make sure that you're ready to endure to the end, because that is exactly what he told us to do. Folks, it's time to get your houses in order and to prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.